Can you imagine this? The prefecture-level city with the smallest land area in China is also the one with the largest total area. Its land covers only a little over 20 square kilometers. But once you include the waters under its jurisdiction, its total area exceeds 2 million square kilometers. In other words, this is a city made almost entirely of sea. This is Sansha. If most of a city is not streets, not buildings, and not even land, can we still call it a city? Look at a map of China and travel south. Pass Hainan Island and continue deep into the South China Sea. What you begin to see is an enormous expanse of blue, scattered with islands, sandbanks, and coral reefs. This is what makes Sansha so unusual. For most cities, the sea is something beside the city, a view, a waterfront, perhaps a boundary. But in Sansha, the sea is one of the most important parts of the city itself. Sansha was officially established as a prefecture-level city in 2012, with its municipal government based on Yongxing Island in the Shisha Islands. Yongxing Island is also one of the clearest places from which to understand what Sansha is really like. From the air, its urban landscape looks completely different from almost any other Chinese city. There are no endless clusters of high-rise buildings. No vast networks of expressways stretching toward the horizon. What catches your eye first is the color. Deep blue water gradually turns turquoise, emerald, and almost transparent. White beaches wrap around small green islands. Beneath the surface, coral reefs create extraordinary natural patterns. Only when you look closer do roads, homes, public buildings, and docks begin to appear among the palm trees and tropical vegetation. And that is when you realize Sansha is not simply a collection of beautiful tropical islands. There is real urban life here. People live here. There are roads, schools, public services, and the infrastructure needed to keep daily life running. But building and operating a city here is very different from doing so on the mainland. In most cities, few of us stop to think about where a kilowatt-hour of electricity comes from, or where a ton of fresh water begins its journey. On a remote island, however, fresh water, energy, transportation, and supplies become some of the most fundamental challenges of urban life. Heat, humidity, salt, and typhoons. All of these mean that buildings, equipment, and infrastructure have to function under conditions very different from those of an ordinary mainland city. That is why the most interesting thing about Sansha is not simply how blue the water is. It is how people maintain the everyday functions of a city across islands that are so remote and so widely separated. In Beijing, Shanghai, or Shenzhen, roads connect neighborhoods, and metro lines connect urban centers. In Sansha, the sea connects places. Ports, ships, and sea routes perform some of the functions that roads perform in ordinary cities. Urban space here does not spread continuously outward. Instead, it exists as a network of small points scattered across a vast ocean. The islands are part of the city, and the sea between them is part of its urban reality as well. This also creates an unusually direct relationship between the city and nature. Coral reefs, seabirds, tropical vegetation, sandbanks, and seawater are not simply scenery beyond the city. They are part of the environmental foundation on which this place depends. And perhaps this is the most interesting question Sansha leaves us with. What does a city really have to look like? Does it need skyscrapers? Does it need crowded streets and millions of people? Sansha offers a very different answer. It has the smallest land area of any prefecture-level city in China. Yet it occupies an extraordinarily vast maritime space. There is no endless urban skyline here. Because when you stand on one of these islands and look toward the horizon, beyond the city, there is the sea. And beyond that, there is still more sea. And this endless blue is what makes Sansha unlike any other city in China.